you thought I wasn't coming back with a yellow background, and you thought yellow wasn't the code,
now the election bacchanal die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production.
it's just me, no DJ, you know. Good night, good morning, good evening. Welcome back, you know. I mean, this is episode 200 and something of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Because, well, the truth, I'm recording this and I'm not sure when we're going to put it out. But I know no DJ to wheel no song and thing, right? But I want you to know that Merchant write this song. This song could be 50 years old. The historians go check me on that, right? And the last president we had who sung in, so salute to the Honorable Christine Kangaloo, used this song in her inauguration. I mean, we call it inauguration here too, or that's just Trump on them. And the lyrics in this song, I want you to, whether red is the code, yellow is the code, whether you still have a party or you resign your party and that party absorb your party, or whether you're done with party and you're staying home and see about your wife. This is an important song for everybody to listen to. Listen, not just listen to the melody, because Merchant is a melodial genius. Melodial is a word? Is a word? He's a genius when it comes to melodies and putting songs together, but listen to the lyrics in this and tell me how to write a song that could be applicable and relevant 50 years down the road.
Now the election bacchanal die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget spites and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation.
To all the PNMites.
So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Well, it's no more brother, you know, it's only sister and sister.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you're on the winning side, listen to lyrics, right? If you win.
Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Reaching out to the PDP, the key words is let us build a nation together. Lyrics to make a politician cringe.
So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. 'Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is put in more effort and less play.
Or pay.
Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land.
Come my sister, come my sister, come my sister, come my sister.
Together.
The applause on them, my Conrad and them is not the same. We go work on that, right? We will fix that soon. Welcome to the episode. This should be about episode 230 or thereabouts of the Decode Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome to all the new listeners. Plenty new listeners on board and plenty thing to talk about today, right? Let me tell you something. For all my day ones, right? Let me start with day ones. Before we get into the election, culture, bacchanal, cancalan, confusion, mayhem, and commerce, right? To all my day ones, and people who saying, boy, you think happening, election come, you ain't saying nothing about the election. People tell me influencers get 40,000 allegedly to promote different things, and they say like, I get 40,000 to keep quiet. All of a sudden, I have nothing to say about election. All of a sudden, I used to record home, background this, place blurry. Now the background is nice and yellow, thanks to the folks at Affordable Imports. There's predictive analytics going on in Affordable Imports, you know. They yellow me out long before yellow was Decode. So I'm comfortable, I'm safe where I am, and I expect calls for senatorial positions and chairmans of boards and so on. I'm looking forward to those phone calls, you know what I mean? Who listening? All you hear what I say, right? But it is difficult now, again, a different journey and a different pivot, something I always said I would do, being able to talk to people and some important people in these spaces. So that is consuming. It is tiring, it is exhausting, it takes a lot to sit down and research on some of the people who have coming through. It takes a lot of work to get done. It takes a lot in terms of scheduling just to get people here. And then, of course, to edit and put clips out for the episode. Something I've never been good at doing, and I'm still not good at doing. And when you say I sit down here and talk by myself, I don't really like putting out clips of what I say. And this election is a good example of why. Because when you're talking about sensitive issues like politics and them kind of thing, where I might talk about politics, religion, all the things that people are uncomfortable to talk about, I don't like to talk about them things here too much. Not that I don't like to talk about it, I should say, but I can't talk about that with a guest when I hear about the guest, right? But when I talk about it by myself, I do like cutting little 1-minute clips of it, because how you go explain macroeconomic policy to address the unemployment rate, you cannot address that in a minute. And if I cut that down to a minute, it will be misconstrued. It will sound like if I'm saying one bad thing about the other and a good thing about the next. And I'm not I'm one of those people. Everybody they say they're impartial and they don't like neither party, so I join in that same list. I really am a little bit disenchanted with the political situation. So I don't see myself as either side or belonging to any party. I don't hold a party card. I've never held a party card. And I don't like the word never, but I don't have any intention to join any party. I just don't like it, to be honest. I don't like it. Some of the things we see going around with man, cussing man, black is white, and now both of them shaking hand. I don't know that I could do it. It's not so much that I don't want to be in the politics or I don't want to serve the country. And I respect all the people who put themselves up to serve the country and so on and put their nice little private life into public scrutiny. I respect them for doing that, but I don't know that I'm able with it. I can't do some of the things they do and laugh and smile with people. And then if I vex in real life. So maybe I'm not cut out for it. I'm not good enough. I always say the best and brightest put themselves there, and I'm not on that list. So who can do this teach and who can this talk? That's why I come to do. I really just come to talk. And I haven't been getting the opportunity because of all these things to come and sit down and talk to all you by myself. So I'm glad to have all you back. Let me play this applause again. I ain't like that, you know. I find that applause making it sound like if my audience thinning out and the audience is growing. So I appreciate that. So I'm glad for the opportunity to come. And I'll tell you, let me be honest with all you, right? You could expect episodes by myself most times when guests cancel. That is when I have the time booked and somebody say they can't come or something happen, which happens. I mean, the people who are asking to come on, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to sit with them and the time that they afford me and so on. So I accept it, and if they can't come, I'm so happy that I've built the muscle to sit down here and talk on issues myself. So where we started? We started with that. I remember a long time I used to start with telling only what I do and what's been going on in my life and so on. Let me give a little capsule into my life now before we start talking about the election. I most recently, and again, it takes a lot of research to sit with people, so I promised everybody here that I talk about the culture so much that I wanted to get a little more involved in the cultural issues and so on. So we can go on there. I went and taken a show by Freetown Collective called Tight Spaces. I want to talk about that for a little while, right? Freetown Collective is something special, and we must recognize them for that. In other words, if I could play a guitar like Lou, I don't know that I had no sort of higher meaning on that. I just looking for the highest bidder who paid me the most, and I paid in any band that called me, you know what I mean? I have a little bit of skill in a few areas. Like, I tell all guys lecture and thing. When time to lecture, the answer is yes, no. If they call me and they say, Corey, we have an e-commerce, I'm like, yes, I'm available every Saturday for the next. I looking for the bag. So I respect the fact that these folks have the level of talent that they have. In terms of Muhammad and singing the Trinity, and these girls harmonizing and things is on the next level. The whole band. Rockers playing bass. If I can play bass like rockers, you can't catch me in no band trying to ascribe to no higher ideals and all these things. I'm looking for it, yes, you know what I mean? All-inclusive resorts are not cheap. Let me put it like that. All-inclusive resorts a little expensive, you know what I mean? And I want to be the first man to go in sandals if they figure out the deal. But I think I'll stop by saying Freetown Collective is something special, and we should all observe it. People who love the culture and think you should take them in. But they had a show in Cafe Noir in St. Augustine. I got a chance to go in, and I didn't realize when they say tight spaces, I was imagining people squeezing up, right? I say, well, I could disappear in the crowd. I'm not very good at going places where I had to stand out for any reason, you know? But when I went there, it's like 20, 25 people they bring together. People sit down on the ground, real bohemian style, and I ain't looking the part. I looking completely out of place with this thing. Of course, the thing saying 8. And one of the things you might know, right? I'm very talkative, but when I do a podcast, I really thinking out loud for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, it's not that I want to talk to people. So the people inside of this thing where I had to go and interact with people is always a little awkward for me. But if a thing starts at 8 o'clock, I just reach the 7:30 and sit down in my car till 7:59. Well, who tell me do that with Freetown? Because when I walk in the tight space, I was in front of the crowd right next to Muhammad now. I was like, oh God, the only seat in the place now is right in front of with rockers and them playing. So now I looking like a part of the, I feeling like I should have walked a maraca and a shake or something. I was like so close to the crowd at that point in time. Pause on that maracan action. But yeah, it's maybe I'll start to reach earlier and pick my spot in the back so I could fade to black easily in these events. But they put on a show, acoustic event, and really a special event. So I get a chance to take that in, and I wonder sometimes if I always remember a man named Robert Spector, right? But my father and I went in the early days of the company. My father had put on a seminar for people to for executives to learn from Nordstrom, Disney, and Ritz-Carlton. He brought a speaker from each one of those companies to do a keynote speech on what makes them special where customer experience is concerned, right? And I always remember saying, now I'm talking to Robert Spector, he had written a book on the Nordstrom way, and really just documenting how good Nordstrom is at customer service and building their customer experiences. And he was talking about, he's from Seattle, Seattle, the one on the West Coast, right? Northwest Coast in the States, that's Seattle. And he was talking about going and taking in a show where he was able to see Bob Marley and the Wailers up close and personal because they was opening for one of his favorite rock acts, or soft rock or whatever it was. And you're in a little cafe and you're taking in Bob Marley and the Wailers performing, and he talking about Peter Tosh, Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer. So that's the special days of the Wailers at that point in time, or that might be the only time you could see 3 of them together. And sometimes when I'm watching Freetown Collective, either up close in places like Tight Spaces or on TV or on social media, sometimes I wonder if that is what we're looking at. If you're looking at the early days of a young Bob, or, when I look at Chronics, his early days where you could get to see him up close and personal, and maybe we might reach a point where you might never get to see a band like Freetown Collective up close and personal again. But I don't want to put them pressure on men, right? I just want to say that was a great show. It's a part of a series that is, I think Tight Spaces, they said it's 4 events. They have a yoga studio somewhere in town that they're doing the next one, I believe, on the 22nd. So if you get a chance to take that in, Very difficult to get a ticket because, of course, the first space was only holding. I counted about 25 people. I was trying to count these fellas' pockets too. I said, let me check and see how much money these men and them really make. I say, all right, if it's 200, I'll take it to 25 people. I was trying to do a little quick maths in my mind, but check it out if you get a chance to check it out. Other than that, over the past few weeks, I've been extremely swamped. Beyond finding the time to record between recording with guests, it's just been really, really difficult. We're going through some transitions in work. It's some of the hardest times I ever go through in my career. I have courses going on weekends. So mostly, I just real tired in between and I just need to rest. So I'm glad for this opportunity to do this today and to talk to you. So I've not abandoned the format where I talk by myself and talk on some of the issues, but these are some of the things that happen there. I was saying on Facebook last week that I'm feeling like I am the only man who still have read. I'm trying to get rid of everything I have read right now, right? I looking for alignment, you know what I mean? I looking for alignment. Olingo Rowley and Stuart Young-Mill. But I went and vote. Some of the times, if you're listening to this for a long time, all you know, sometimes you come here after election and my finger ain't red at all. And sometimes it might be red. I will defend people's rights not to vote. You see this idea that voting was fought for one thing. I think that's important. But I think it's also important for people to appreciate the fact that this idea that voting is an obligation, and if you don't vote, I just wonder if I will go along with that if people allow me not to pay tax when I don't vote. You see this idea that you don't vote, you don't have a say on what happens. My friend, yeah, if I pay in tax, I have a say on anything that happens in this country or any decision that anybody makes. So for the people who didn't vote, which it seemed to be the case in this election, that quite a few people didn't vote. You know, usually low voter turnout tends to signal that people are okay with the incumbent. Obviously not the case this time, right? It looked like the Red Army is the one that stay home, you know? So I would say to people who didn't participate in the process at all, do what it takes to hold the government accountable. Whether your party win or lose, your party in power or not. Let us not go down this road where we still... Maybe I could understand it a little bit when the election going on and we campaigning, where everything your party say is right and everything the other party say is wrong. But in the spirit of what Merchant was singing about, we have to build the nation together. If UNC wins, everybody wins. There's no time that has been more important than now. If the people in power, you can't continue to hold on to your election type. Me saying abandon your party. If you're NT, well, still have NT. Man resign. If you're PDP and them still there, but them are running. If you have a PEP, maybe it's still a two-party system. Maybe 2.5. You know what I mean? But if your party lost and you, like, it don't mean that now you have to go on Facebook every day and cherry pick at everything the boss and them do. They the boss for at least the next 5 years. And materials that the UNC, this current party in power, this current government, have an opportunity to sideline the PNM for a long time. They have that opportunity. What they do with the opportunity, we go observe, right? Because that's what we watching now, they're in power. And one of the things I never liked in 2011, or not 2011, more so 2015, you see the idea of you win and you still just, everything is about the party who was in power before. I that makes me very uncomfortable. And I'm starting to see a little bit of signs that is where we headed. Because the last headline I read before I started recording here say, brace yourself for bad news as we find out what is the state of the government. I wonder if there's a better way. I have a few suggestions in terms of bettering the way this election process works and possibly even better in the way the governance structure is in the country, right? Because if political parties have to do a manifesto where they promise different things, I think it's unfair to ask the parties to do that manifesto in the dark, in isolation. It's like they don't have access to all the figures. They don't have access to exactly the way how much money in the treasury, for instance, or how much. And again, I talking completely utopian, right? Because I would assume that if I was party in power, I would not share information with my biggest rival. But maybe we should, because them being in opposition for so long could go and basically request any information they want through the parliamentary process, right? So if that's the case, share information with them that allows them to write a manifesto that's realistic. I'm not saying the current manifesto is not realistic, but it must be that we can't continue to live in a country. I'm talking about the electorate now, where we vote based on promises from our party that they could just write whatever they want in the manifesto, and then is a good enough excuse or reason or rationale when they come in to say, hey, we was getting all of this, but the PNM and them run the country into the ground, and that is not good enough. That is not acceptable. You were in parliament for the 10 years. You were in power the 5 years before that. You know what is the state of the treasury. When all they want to licks Imbert or want to licks Faris or want to lick, all it is come very comfortably with Mark. You know, remember him? Wait, Mark. When he come there, he come in and ask for this document from this day, and if you don't give him the figures, they drill in you. So Ole was part of government too. You cannot come in, especially because it's clear that outside of the PDP, salute to the PDP, outside of the PDP, there's no third force of anything in this country. It is PNM and UNC, as Philip Alexander teaching us live and direct right now, right? You don't get absorbed into the UI. I never seen nothing like that yet. But when they say government, the government is made up of the opposition and the party in power. So you can't just sit back and say, well, the government do this, the government do that, as if you wasn't part of the process. You was part of the process. Not, granted, part of the process means voting against everything, but it's are things you vote for, it's are things you abstain from, and so on. But we had to get a little wiser as an electorate to be able to see, okay, if you're promising all these things, when you come to your street corner thing or your doubles and coffee or whatever forums you have, UNC Monday Night Forum or your Rienzi, where it is going now around, West Plaza or Rienzi or wherever it is go to do the rally, it can't just be that you give you the promises. We are gate for how much years now, and we had dollar for dollar before that. The society we dealing with is a more informed and more educated society. You only listening and reading, listening to podcasts and reading more articles and getting more involved. And even TikTok is so encouraging to see so many young people, whether it's a yellow Decode and it's a paid thing or not, so many young people involved in the political process. I feel so encouraged to watch KG, talks with KG and Daniel Lovelace. I feel so encouraged to see younger people like them who in touch and, you know, on the ground and in touch with youth. I feel so encouraged to see them bring politicians on the platforms and talk to them. Them fellas didn't bong to do that, but part of why they're doing it is because they're interested in the process. The younger the people we have in this country who are interested in the process, whether they vote or not, once they're more interested in the process, we lead in for a state where the government is more accountable to the people. I always say these young people now, them are the answers. They're plenty brighter than we ever was. So let me talk for myself. Plenty brighter than I ever was. So I respect the fact that they're involved and they're looking at it. But we must, those young people, and including all of us, must take a step further to hold them to account by asking them how. What's your plan? So the rumor is that they will go to the IMF. The rumor is that they will float the dollar. Force these politicians to discuss these things when they're on the platforms. We need to get away from this rah-rah politics where everybody say, I always remember one time, and salute to Shamfe lost like hell too, but salute to you, you know what I mean? I always remember seeing her campaigning as part of the, you know, I was so encouraged by when the PNM had turned that corner. And you see plenty young people as part of Rowley would-be cabinet when he was running in 2015, 14, whatever time that was, right? And Shamfa was one of the people, you know, they feel encouraged when they see young people around the scene, you know? And she was like, she used to do a little spoken word, you know what I mean? A little spoken word. And think when she go up, she say, and the thing, I can't do spoken words, so I can't even mock her properly, but, you know, so when she do that, and everybody say, Ray! In other words, we seem to don't care. And maybe that is the truth about the political base of both parties. We don't care what they say. We go in there for entertainment. We want to go there and see Lady Lava sing, and we want to see Young Brother come out and Kutain come out, and it seems to be that. And we want to hear dub plates. We want to hear dub plate from this one and that one, and we want to hear Skilly Bang say start as the man. That seems to be more what we voted for. And I on record as saying I vote for very frivolous things because I don't think things change. So I mean, maybe I vote for the person who had the best dub plate. But at the end of the day, if we don't move past that rah-rah politics, I call it, and get to the point where we have young decision makers sitting down and listening to what the issues really are, because any economic decision that you have, any political decision that you make, the truth is it have ups and it have downs. There's pros and cons. It's just the reality of the thing. So it would be nice if it have somebody there to walk through what are some of the pros and cons. There are pros and cons to floating the dollar. We ain't gonna like it because the cons go affect all like me and you. So the cons go affect the middle class immediately. The middle class go feel the pain. As a matter of fact, I want to say that the middle class is usually the people who affected most by macroeconomic decisions, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, in a world where somebody could just basically say, I go pay everybody. I go pay back pay next week. I go do this. I go do that. So it means that the party in power never have a chance because them can't realistically say that because the question will always be, why you didn't do it all the time? Which is a valid question. When you do that for 10 years and you come in to tell me you go do and you go do and you go do now, that don't make sense. But the flip side of that is, I as an opposition leader could come there and say anything. I could give out money. What I could do is get everybody, they used to talk this thing about when AI replace all of our jobs. There's a guy in the States called, I want to say it's Andrew Yang, if I have that right, was talking about universal basic income so that they have some income that everybody could get because entry-level jobs go become a problem. When three things take over, artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics, when them three things take over, it will be hard for anybody to get and keep a entry-level job. Make sense? So when you come in and you talk about that and you come and say, well, universal bill, what I go do is pay everybody in Trinidad to go $20,000. Everybody, you must vote for that. You must want that. Who don't want an extra 20? You know what I mean? Who don't want a food card or a grant or a laptop? These is good policies. But the truth is, if we don't know how we're paying for it, because I'm not sure that we do a great job connecting the fact that the money must come from somewhere. If you're going to put more money into one thing, the amount of money that a country has is just like your budget home. It's finite. If you're making 10 grand a month net, because you have to pay the government the money, right? You pay the government the tax already, you're going home with $8,000 now. If you want to buy $10,000 worth of things that month, you have to explain to somebody or pick it up with yourself, basically, where the extra $2,000 come from. The truth is that in a household, the extra $2,000 could only come from two places. It could come from borrowing or it could come from savings, unless you do something to affect that $8,000 figure. If you affect that $8,000 figure and you make some sugar cake, whatever it is you do to sell, you do that and now you're making 10,000. Then you could spend your 10,000. The truth is also that if you make 10,000 and you spend 10,000, your savings could stay in the same place it was before. You wouldn't be incurring no more debt, which is nice. But what you understand is that your savings is not going to grow. And if you have a rainy day, you're going to have some trouble. It's not much different, plenty of different layers and complication, but it's not much different at a basic level. What had to happen with a country? A country making a certain amount of money. I making money by saying, no, I just go to work every week. On a weekend, I just go and I just lecture. I just produce a few podcasts and I just get money from that. And I'm doing a podcast every week that are looking for sponsorship and so on for, you know what I mean? Maybe there's a press the wrong effect for the right reason there, because that's exactly what happened when I call these sponsors. But at some point in time, the money will come in from there too. So those incomes that I have coming in, I had to decide what I want to do with that income. And at most basic level, you could either spend it or save it or invest it. It's not much different for a country. We have a whole lot of areas where income is coming, right? We do have a decent little light manufacturing sector, means it are people who make things in this country, right? And when you make things and sell, if you sell it domestic, you get some money from that. If you sell it abroad, you get some foreign exchange from that, right? We also have a nice little food and beverage place and when I say food and beverage, I'm talking about people like, when I say light manufacturing, I might be including people like my new minister of trade and industry and them thing, you know what I mean? It's trade and industry or something so, or foreign affairs, whatever it is. Cameron Murad from Sasha. I like that move. But when you talk about industries like those, globally recognizable brands, or at least extra regionally recognizable brands, food and beverage, you're talking about people like the Associated Brands, the Carib and Answer, who again fall in food and beverage. What was my Muhammad friend's name again down in the Southland? SM Jalil and Chubby and so on. We have a decent thing. So if you go anywhere in the Caribbean, you will notice in any Caribbean island or territory, you would find that we have a lot of products that might be dominating the shelves in the supermarkets in those spaces. And once you understand that every time they sell to those other countries, it has some foreign exchange coming in. That's how we make our money as a society, as a nation. Because some percentage of that money ends up in the government hand. When you export something, there might be taxes or something. When you import something, it have duties you have to pay on your inputs to make this thing. And then you will have to pay corporation tax and green fund and business levy. Those things are trying not to say easily manipulatable, right? But you could adjust the amount of taxes you pay, but you will pay some form of tax there. And you will employ people who will in turn pay income tax. And you will employ people who the balance of their money, they will spend some of it in the economy. So that's what economy made of. How much money you're making, how much money you're spending. So when you have people who come in to tell us, we will do the world for you, you know what I mean? I give you the sun, the moon, the rain, the stars, and the mountain, you know what I mean? If I come and promise you all them things, I like the idea of it. I want to vote for you. But until you tell me, okay, how you're paying for all those things, because how you pay for that can in turn affect my standard of living and my quality of life. We vote for it, and we obviously, the package that was presented by the UNC was obviously much better received by the population. I congratulate them for that. They run a good campaign. They outspend the PNM from a marketing standpoint by far. I think they out-technology the PNM too. I don't know why the PNM have a little oldness, you know. Me know if it's how old the party is and things, but they seem to fail to keep up with the current times. I don't know if it's a budget constraints or what, but it's clear that digital marketing is where everybody needs to be. But they seem to still like boots on the ground marketing. Not that bad, but it's surely it will not work in isolation. It's proven. You need to have so the idea, the PNM's response to influencers being a part of the UNC campaign is basically to say, hey, all of the paying influencers. I don't know if that was a good response. That was a pretty bad response. It's a pretty inadequate response. I always remember Francis Fashions one time putting out a radio ad saying, don't go and get lost in the Amazon jungle. Come to Francis Fashions. Like, I don't know if that's how that's working. You can't pull wool over the consumer. The consumer know, just like that budget, I have a certain amount of money to spend, which is limited, and more want unlimited. So they go out there and get. So if you were to tell me upfront that the way I am going to get this money to do these things is to go to the IMF, it would be great if we have a population of people who understand that I want my back pay today. I want my negotiations up to date now, because I think the last government do a horrible job of keeping up to date with I have people who talk about 2013 and 2014 salaries they're working on still. That is not good. It's not very far from the norm, unfortunately, but it's not good. We want a new normal. We want a better tomorrow. But if I was to have a population who I come to and I say, again, your back pay tomorrow, right? And the population stop and say, how? Because if we don't have enough money and we don't have this, and they believe the numbers that they're seeing, and you say, well, I'm going to the IMF, and they have a population who says, okay, well, how does that affect me? Well, the issue is this. If you go to the IMF has the power to restructure, just like any bank. If you go by the bank now, and the bank will simply tell you, here, what is the scene? I could give you a loan to buy a motor car, you know. But number one, that motor car had to stay in my name until you pay off your loan. Number two, you see, that's the money you're paying for this loan and that loan and that loan. If you're paying about 500 less, I could get the loan. And then you could go and restructure your budget now and say, all right, well, I'm going to pay off that small loan I have, so consolidate this, work on that, or sell sugar cake, increase your income. It's the same thing with the IMF. Lender of last resort is what it's called, these people and things. Oh, no, that's the government. That's not the IMF. So when you go to world bodies like this, there are horror stories all over the world where people borrow money from the IMF and could never pay them back because of how restrictive the conditions are. The IMF going to basically tell you, here, what is the scene? If your income is X and your expenditure is Y, I don't see how you will service this loan, because I could give you $250 billion you're looking for, but you got to pay me back $20 million a month. And if your expenses more than your income, I don't see how you will pay me back. So here what to do, because all these expenses, you see these things here, cut them. And you see these things you're working on here when it comes to your income, I need the money to be invested in this, because if you invest in this, this can increase your income. Let me give you an example, right? If, let's say, Trinidad and Tobago decides tomorrow in my favor that podcasting is the way that we're going to get more revenue coming into this country, then you come and you call Corey Shop and you invest in that guy. Yeah? You put your money in me, put a little faith in I. If you put your faith in me, I go make sure we make back the money as a country, because now this could be exported and the money will come in. The IMF has the power to tell you to do that, or to allow you to say, all right, well, this investment you could continue with. But you see, this money you're spending here, which has no chance of making money, and usually they will call it transfer payments, right? It transfers public funds into the private sector. But they call it a transfer payment because it's non-productive. So an example of that would be Dude, CPEP, URP. Let me call whichever era you was working in, right? Dude, URP, CPEP, 10 days, whatever the thing was when you was around, or that will be cancelled immediately. Because the issue with that type of, and I'm not saying it's a bad, I want you to understand something when I talk, right? Especially people who knew and might not hear me talk like this before. All you hear me do is ask questions, right? Me here to talk about right or wrong. Me here to talk about good or bad. I'm certainly not here to talk about ketchup and mustard or UNC and P&M and you know what I mean, these fellas. I just come to explain the way the issues work. You decide if it's right or wrong with P&M or UNC. You decide and take on your own after. If you put money into CPEP and CPEP does not produce anything, they make the place nicer, they clean up the place, all those things are good. That will make us feel better as a nation, right? There was some intrinsic reward to seeing all these stones in the country painted white and so on. You know what I mean? It's nice, it's beautiful. But it produces nothing that anybody could buy. There's no production. So in other words, SM Jalil produces something that people could buy. And when they produce that thing that people could buy, some of it will sell domestic, some of it will sell abroad. The ones that sell abroad will attract foreign exchange. The one that sell domestic will help move our domestic economy and employ people and so on. Make sense? It's simple enough. So when you have money going into CPEP and there's no productivity come up, the issue is not that the IMF is not the big bad wolf. You know, the IMF is not a wicked place. It's actually a real good idea. But what they will tell you is, you see the billions of dollars you're spending here? I will give you the money, but you cannot continue that. And you must sign something that say you have to scrap and disband that program, because that money could be used to pay me back. And it not being used in a way that's going to generate any more money that will help pay me back. Actually, it puts the money I lend you at risk. Because as you continue to transfer to that with no outcome, and you don't put that money into resource, into things that are productive, or have the chance of being productive outputs, then I go lost my money and I'm not going to lend you. Not no different from Republic Bank and the same kind of things that they will tell you. Them and telling you, well, boy, at this time, your debt service ratio, you know, remember that? Sir? Your debt service ratio is this and that and that, and this is the maximum you could borrow. So forget that Rubicon you wanted to buy. Go and get yourself a nice little Kia in this life. You know what I mean? This is as far as we could go, and this is as far as we could lend you. Right? Same thing the IMF is going to do. And again, I'm not telling you about good, bad, or indifference. And, you know, you tend to find that the debates, when you're talking to people about these types of issues, it ends up being a P&M or UNC debate. It does not matter which party does this. I talk about economic fundamentals. I'm not talking about anything else. So the other thing that is going to become raised in question is the size of the public sector. In this country, the government is the largest employer of people by far. We have an army that is there with very little risk of war. We have a bloated police force that seem not to be able to get the crime under control or respond to it fast enough. We have a huge public sector for services that the country don't even feel working well. We complain about the public sector. Well, I would not, if Conrad and them in Affordable Imports was public sector employees, I couldn't come and record today because I a slipper there. They tell me go for a shoe. That now changed last month or month before, something like that. So the public sector is not by any stretch of, by any definition is efficient at this point. And we're happy with the services we get. So the truth, and it's also not creating any productive thing that could sell and make money to help pay back the IMF. So the IMF is going to look at that and say, you're employing too much people. You have too much of ministry. You have too much of services. Cut down them thing. Forget all, and they might welcome and tell them, hey, what's he saying? Forget all these different things. You see that revenue authority, all you want to shut down? redeploy about 10% of the employees. You have to put them in the revenue authority because you had to collect your tax, right? And you see that property tax, all the things, you have to put it. Them is the kind of thing the IMF going to come and say, because them know that if you put out a revenue authority and you put the property tax as examples, then you have a chance of collecting enough money. I see how I gain back my 20 million a month. Only with me? So if you were to tell me up front that this is the way you do it when you're going to pay all these things, I might realize that I working for 10,000 now. When I get my back pay again, I 150 in hand, and my money going up to about 12.5. But I might realize that, hey, when I get at 150, if this is how I'm getting it, my 150 might actually be worth 70 because of what it could buy. The price, I will be out of a job when I'm done with this. This might be all the money I have, but that is it. And the total level of unemployment in the country going up, and then where will I get work? And I could also say that my 12,500 is actually buying me less groceries than my 10,000 was buying, which is an inflationary effect, right? It's a problem. But we allow, and I say we being the electorate, we allow for a political process where even the party in power doesn't have to explain any of that. We don't ask them why, we don't hold them to task, we don't do it. And we take the smile and wave, and I like to say very frivolous things, and we vote based on that. Same thing with devaluing the dollar. Devaluing the dollar has a big upside. The big upside is that we will stop importing, and it's happening already. You're starting to see where people making choices to support or buy from local brands, even if by force, because when you don't have enough money to buy the same amount of groceries you was buying before, you might find yourself switching a little more from the Frito-Lay products, and you might buy a little more Sunshine Snacks, and you know what I mean? You might even buy the imported crackers like Ritz and them kind of thing. Is Ritz imported? You stop buying that as much, and you start to buy Cricks and things from domestic or regional suppliers. That shift already happening right now. The gas price getting higher, or the gas subsidy being removed. You have less money to spend on groceries and all the other things that you would typically spend on. So if the dollar go from 7 to 1 to 15 to 1, where the rumors is now, what immediately happens is the price of imports, meaning the price of the things you buy on Amazon, the price and change on Amazon, but it get more expensive to you, because instead of spending 7 TT for every dollar you want to spend, you got to spend 15 TT for every dollar you spend. It's going to correct. It's going to correct. What will happen is that people will stop importing so much, and the wise words are crazy. You start eating local fruits. Tam brandies and eat it. Eat it. You'll shift. And once you make that shift, again, you'll find in economics ways you start to trend towards an equilibrium. You'll be at a new equilibrium point where people stop buying those foreign things, and then they'll put downward pressure on that price of the US dollar. So it might go all the way to 15, but it will quickly start coming back down. And I was hoping to have I'd reach out to Roger Hussain, who's one of the best economics teachers I ever had. And he promised me that he would give me 15 minutes. I asked him for 1.5, right? But he said he would give me 15 minutes. And he also said he ain't coming no way he could do it on Zoom. I hope to have him come and talk through some of these issues, because of all the econ teachers I ever had, he explains things in a way that's so easy for people to understand. It's almost like somebody who's not is in a classroom like me. I slow like hell, but he explained it in a way that is very, very easy to get. So again, we have to now be in a position where we could hold the current government, the new government. Congrats to them. Congrats to all the MPs who won. Sorry for all the PNM and the PNM NTA. Kizel Jackson wasn't even here. She's my hero. She bust out the night before election, go to Singapore and start to advertise training course immediately. She didn't wait to find out if she would get back. She deposit. I didn't see she go on TV. This year election coverage is one of the worst of the election coverage I ever see too. I just see about 2 constituency UNC leader. Next one I see Kirk May, who's smiling like he itching, he wants to go fast, and Fitzgerald only checking his phone to see if he still have a work. It's the worst election coverage I ever see. But sorry for all the parties who lost. Sorry for all the people in the PNM who lost the seat. On a personal level, right? This has nothing to do with nothing, right? I think the PNM losing gives them a chance to reset and rebuild, and you could see the nonsense that was happening within the PNM now with people being forced to vote for Stewart. And this is one of my difficulties with party politics. That idea that big man and woman had to toe the line, all they clearly didn't want Stewart there. But all they do all the internal meeting, all they come and all they try to sell Stuart to we, even the ones who was silent on the issue, like Faris basically saying, hey, you know what, I was never with this. He come out and spoke about it and he was always for Penny from inception. But I find something about it so juvenile. Now that I'm seeing people talking about Rowley as a dictator and he bully we, and it's like, come on, all these parts of this party, all he was behind it. And if Stuart Young did with it, all they'd never say none of this. All they'd pretend all they like him bad, all they was behind him. This is why I can't take the politics, you know. But PNM at a point now where, like I say, UNC have an opportunity to be in power for a long time because I think people was genuinely fed up more than anything else with the talking down to and the buffing and the as of midnight. I think more than anything else, people was fed up about that. And on everything that happened on top of that, like you increase your salary, you buff about the 1% and 2% or 0.000 and all them things, or the smugness of. And one thing I'm saying is, I'm only sorry some more of them in Lawson. I'm only sorry, or like Mbatso and Faris and Manning. I'm sorry some of them more of them in Lawson so that they know, hey, it's no joke. What we want is a complete rehash, a rehaul over, start over from scratch before they go and say, well, this one is all the leader and all he was supposed. Are you watching swearing in? Let me start with the opposition swearing in before anything else, right? I saw it the night. You remember they say in Tobago, them fellas fall out and it was 11-9. And then in Balize House, they fall back in and it was 20 zip and Stuart was leader. I watched them men come out of the parliament with, not the parliament, what was the next Red House name? Balize House. I watched them come out of there. And a whole scene from the end of The Godfather where everybody come and kiss Stuart Young rings and then Penny was nowhere to be seen, but they come and they shake his hand and it's like, yes, and Stuart Young and we have 20 and Rowley said, ta 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 ta. What is this a mob movie or something we be watching? Because when they're swaying Penny, and congratulations to Penny, I like the fact that, you know, I was talking about Freetown Trinity, but the country have its own little holy trinity going on, you know what I mean? We have a little trinity going on between Penny, Christine Kangaloo, and the Honorable Right Kamala Prasad Bissessa. Is that a little trinity going on between three of them now? So she come out now as leader, sworn in as opposition leader. A reputation for hard work, a woman who I met once in a meeting, and she's if I had to describe anything with her, she's very stern. I was very frightened, you know what I mean? I was very nervous. She was Minister of Public Utilities at the time. But outside of the parliament, no, not the parliament, the president's house, after they do the swearing, outside of the, it's a next whole Godfather scene going down because them stand up in a circle, right? And every one of them pledged their allegiance to Penny. I never seen nothing like this outside a place like Scarface and The Godfather and Goodfellas and them things, you know. And Penny stand up looking forward straight so actually. And a man behind she talking about how he always loved Penny and actually. Yes. Yes. I said, what the hell is this I watching here? This is part of governance too. These are people we trust to be in opposition to keep this bunch in check. So congratulations to them, congratulations to the MPs who won. I had luck to Foster and them, so who lost, you know what I mean? I hear Foster was one of the best, you know. When you hear Foster talk, Foster song just like when Patrick Manning sung it. And now I see like they ain't want Foster again. At one point they was talking about Stuart, Foster and Penny being the three people who they want to play the helm of the party. No, boy, listen. I would love to be a fly on the wall for internal party politics, yes, but congrats again to the UNC. The UNC, when I'm on record again of saying that Kamala Prasad Bissessa can't get my vote because of a statement she's made. You see, that statement with that slave name thing, I can't vote for Kamala Prasad Bissessa, but I will say that once she's Prime Minister of this country, yeah, my support. If you do well, the country does well. If UNC wins, everybody wins. If Kamala wins, everybody wins. And I do find that before I get into their cabinet and them thing, I always have to remember to have a fresh batch of people making every year. You know, I just forget that, and I feel like everybody is my age and thing. But what's this whole debate about where she working from and them kind of thing? I'm trying to understand something. Anybody expected Kamala Prasad Bissessa to live in the Prime Minister residence or work from the Whitehall? I don't understand why this is a debate. When she was there from 2010 to 2015, she never used to work from there. She used to take her helicopter and come back up the road and them kind of thing. I expect that the helicopter go and start back flying soon because the woman reached late like hell. I used to be so annoyed. And you know, every press conference during COVID started late. All they used to start late. And not. I want to salute to the technocrats or the public servants, right? The doctors, Dr. Hines. There have a few of them and names I can't remember. It wasn't them, you know. It was everyone where it have The Alsing lost too. The Alsing rollers and all them fellas. Them fellas used to start late all the time. And then when Kamala reached late for the swearing in or inauguration, whatever they call it, I seen people who is on Facebook is PNM people talking, she reached late, look what she done start. I was like, all your boys be late right through. What we talking about? But again, fresh batch of people making all the time. So maybe there's people who during 2020, because if you're 18 years old now and you now vote for the first time, it would mean that in 2010 when they was in power, you was like, what, 3 years old? And when they leave, you was 8 years old, so you don't understand the political process, or you can't pay attention to that time. Or let me put it in better context for you. If you was 25 now, which is a big working person paying tax on them thing, living on your own, making children, or at least doing the things that lead to that, you would have been 10 years old when they was in power, and 15 years old and leave. You might not be paying attention. But I want to tell all the people who is that age and think this woman never used to work from this. She used to work from home all the time. Them cabinet meetings at home, that was happening a long time. So I didn't have any expectation that she was going to come. I naively thinking that everybody who votes on yellow is Decode them. Kind of knew that that's what going to happen when she not going to come out. Surprisingly, she talking to the media after press conferences and think maybe it's because they just win, but that was one of the biggest complaints about the Kamala Persad-Bissessar-led People's Partnership, that she stopped talking to the media and she was controlled or being thing by a cabal. But again, fresh batch of people, they might remember some of these things, and she there. So the fact that Padarat is bursting at the seams. I said, these people have an opportunity to be in power for a long time, but the way Padarat's operating, I know if it will happen, because this guy is going to lose. He's going to lose it on somebody soon. I don't know if he's the man they put. I guess he's a minister in the office of the prime minister, but I don't think he's the best person they should have put for communicating on her behalf or in her absence, and them think about Whitehall and thing. This man show a whole unplugged system there and he say it's in working, but sometimes plugging in thing it'll be easy, you know. That's what I'm bending down here right here, you know. On my back I can't bend down too low. But that mean I just waiting for entertainment purposes. I waiting to see he lose it and start a ball at people. I see the boss done. I don't know how Akash Samaru. So look at Akash, right? Akash, he had to protect his wife and his relationship home, you know, his wife and his children and his parents and so on. I hope his parents still alive, and I wish him the best for his nuptials, his marriage and his wedding and his home life is what I'm trying to say, because them is the only people who love Akash. I never see a man who everybody dislike across the board. This man, when he say roll, he say Akash only come to us thing there, and the next side used to be cheering for him. Yeah, get him. You take money and he take the money and the pension. Get him. Don't let him get away, right? The man and back then, as antagonistic as he feel he might want to be, he asking the questions that again, rollers feel he asking questions to make him look bad. He feel he asking questions that the people want to hear. The supporters of rollers hate him. The anti-rollers love him. The man first question he kept to ask on TV now, he say, ma'am, I know you used to tell people, give me money to the children's life fund and thing. This is documented because Akash wasn't 10 in 2010. So he know he was working in media already. Say, you remember the children's life fund, you used to make everybody, or you had a thing where everybody donated money to that and so on and so on and so on. And he asked it again because this has been his pet peeve for a long time. It was not, I don't think, now you can see it's not a rolly thing. I think the man genuinely feel it was a bad decision. And he genuinely feel it was a slap in the face. You could see it. You could see it when he asked the question. And say, given all this sort of increase and thing, because now you was against the increase, now you're getting the increase. So I want to know if you have something like, I find it's one of the simplest questions, boy. Milady didn't like that. Milady tell Akash, behave yourself. I was too nice last time. Don't come here with that. I hate to think that Akash, after being painted for so long as a UNC apologist and a reporter that's in the pocket of the UNC, Akash, don't tell me, neither red nor yellow, nobody ain't gonna like you at all. You need to have the best possible home life you could possibly have. Again, appointments were made, swearing in was done. The speeches, I just want to touch on that for a minute. The speeches by both Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Penelope Beckers were extremely encouraging. That is why I'm looking for, because it could be hard to tell me you taking this move or that move and get me too excited or too dumb about what you say you want to do with the economy concerned, because the truth is any decision them come up with, they both responsible parties. They both run the country before, and whatever decision they take, it go just have ups and downs states. And the opposition go highlight all the downs, the government go talk about all the ups, and that is how it will go. But in terms of leadership, which I feel like I've again documented here as feeling like that's one of the main things we've been lacking over the last 10 years. A sense that we have a leader who believes in us and we can believe in that leader. I haven't felt that way in a long time. Or we have a leader who has a vision that needs my support and help to be a part of that vision so we can have, like the man say, build a better nation together. I haven't felt that way in a long time. But based on the speeches by both Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Penelope Beckers, I feel encouraged that at least, I don't think Penelope is officially leader of the opposition yet, but we see where they're going, right? So I'm encouraged by the two people who they have there. And I already have some faith in Christine Kangaloo based on, she played 2 calypso when she opened the thing, so you always have my support with that, right? And she said the Panyard model needs to be adopted. She had my support right through. She went back to she in primary school. I like her as a leader. So with 3 women there, I'm hoping that, they have a tendency to say, when there's too much women in our thing, and it is thing, and it starts to be cat fight, and it's but it works with the men and them. When you look at how Philip Alexander versus Gary, or Gary versus this one, and Anna Roberts, the cat fights seem to be in this country happening among the men. So I am hoping that we have a different timbre of politics that we could look forward to, where these people could work together. Let me see a different type of politics, and let me see a different type of conversation, and a different way of talking to one another, and even talking to reporters. Let me kill that thing where we want to kill each reporter who asks questions. People just asking questions. Reporters are tax-paying citizens just like everybody. Why we talk to reporters like if them is part of the opposition, and then they started to talk about things like opposition mouthpiece and things. If we could bury them kind of narratives, that would be nice. But I start, if you don't know about this, right, we play random calypso and thing during this thing too,
Would you like to rock it with me, baby? Would you like to jump it with me, honey? Would you like to rock it with me, baby? Would you like to jump it with me, honey?
Body. And there she was standing in a corner, looking so sweet and without a partner. So I went over, I spoke to her, she smiled, and I said to her, would you like to rock it with me, baby? Would you like to jam it with me, honey? Sweet calypso, music jamming for soul. Come and rock it with me.
We had to fix this applause. Conrad, we had to work on this. So, in more in the politics, right? Because I guess the politics is the hottest topic, right? What's that, Keisha? Cool. But Kamala, of course, this is by Kim Budram. Kamala expects serious revelations. It expects some serious revelations out of the 2024 Auditor General's report, which must be laid in Parliament before going public, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar has said. The PM dropped the hints as she fielded questions following Thursday's post-cabinet meeting news conference, but decided to speak further on the report, stressing that the document must first be laid in Parliament. Persad-Bissessar said the Auditor General's report for the last fiscal year has been forwarded to the Parliament and to the Minister of Finance. However, she added, we did not speak on it until it's laid in Parliament. I suppose that's the protocol. She said the practice and protocol, and maybe even the law, is that we do not speak on it until it is laid in Parliament. But again, this is alluding to what do you expect to come out of it. My expectation is that she's going to say, things looking bleak, this and thing. They make a mess of the thing. How much $1 billion missing? I saw her say it before when they take over from Manning. I saw Rowley say it about them when they take over from them. I even see Rowley win during COVID, and he win the last election and still talking about them who win so long ago. And one of the things they get fed up with he too for, because it's like, all right, okay. At some point in time, you had to move on. I wish we could move on today. This is the point I want to make. I wish we could move on today. I really don't want to hear too much about what was there before. I want to hear focus on your plans and what you doing and what you're doing for youth. So some of the initial promises that they said, and I do like the way she has approached it so far. When in the initial sort of media briefing after she was sworn in, or the cabinet was sworn in, as well as the first post-cabinet meeting or media conference, whatever you want to call it, she's focused on low-hanging fruit. When she said, all right, well, the FUL thing had to be resolved. I agree with it 100%. I spoke here many, many times on that issue. And I am not sure that I want to live in a country where I only feel safe if I have a fire I'm working with all the time, or I feel safe, or, it's like they outsource national security to the citizenry. But I do feel as if some, it's like a motor car license for me. It's like a car license. If you could get your license, it should have a very clear, simple process that allows you to get it quickly without a whole set of red tape. Like any other thing, it's like a bird paper. So if a man decides he wants to have weapons, whether it's because he wants to protect himself, or he just like weapons, or whatever it might be, why the process needs to be so cumbersome that I don't even feel to apply because of how long it will take? I can't track my application. I don't know where it is. I don't know if I will get through. And it seems to be one of those processes, like many in the country, that are designed with bureaucracy to create corruptibility. It's designed and held that way so that somebody could get $50,000 and split it up among themselves, and then they decide in their own little government with their own little demigods or semi-gods, you know what I mean? They decide who could get a firearm or not. I don't necessarily want one. I don't think I'm ready for that responsibility. But I do believe that everybody who should have one should be able to get one. So I was glad to hear her say that. And when I have a prime minister who's talking about knock it again and again and again and again and again, I don't want one, but I ain't going to be the only man without one. Because when they start a wild, wild west, because this country, culturally, we are already a very selfish people. We care most about our immediate circle and family. We care about that much more than we care about society, country, or whatever. And listen, if you ever read a fellow named Maslow, Abraham Maslow, he talks about the types of needs human beings have. A psychologist, right? And one of the things he talks about as well is you have evolved when you start caring about the collective more than you care about yourself. Right? That was a big part of his writing. So I'm saying that to say we have not evolved. So when that firearm process goes through, because I trust that they're going to deliver on it, and they're going to deliver on it quickly, especially when Alexander is the manager. What do they call it? Homeland Security. Well, it's going to happen fast. And I'll tell you this. I don't want that. I don't know if I'm ready for that. But what I will not be is the only man without a firearm. Not me, not here. For bad drive, I don't see too well for bad drive. A man done shuts up my bonnet, and I believe I don't know if we are very responsible. I know we're very selfish, but maybe we're really responsible, and I underestimating it. And when it becomes something that, and you could safely assume that everybody would have, I don't want to be the only person without, just in case, right? They also said that they will look at stand your ground laws and home invasion laws. Stand your ground laws tend to have some controversial things around it in the States, because you see, the people who are proponents of the American society, or who like the way America is run, and they like the idea of capitalism and free market economy, and they may even like the idea of Trump, especially in the recent days of Biden, they are aligned with this kind of rhetoric and talk about crack it and knock it again and again and so on, and make it available for everybody and all those things. And that's fine. But what people may not admit is that if you look carefully at stand your ground laws in states that have stand your ground laws, or let me talk about my general belief about the states. You see, the US is why visa expiring, boy? I should talk about this, boy. The states is a place where it is designed and a constitution written by the founding fathers. The founding fathers of the US at the time still did not recognize certain races in certain places as whole human beings or human beings at all. They were livestock, right? And that's where they came from. That is the thought process. That is what they believe. Me ain't telling you whether they're right or wrong, you know. Me ain't telling you whether they're good or bad. I'm telling you what is documented in history. That is their belief. They grew up in households where, because forget their belief, because when you tell people that, they go start to tell you, well, Abraham Lincoln, his father and his grandfather and them come from an era where it would have been unheard of to see people as equal, and idea of freeing and thing, and political pressure is more likely to lead to that than anything else. So I'm saying all this to say that the laws in a country like that, when they say protect themselves, they are talking about themselves. And when they say protect themselves from somebody, they are talking about us. So stand your ground laws, it is starting to be shown now where it is, the court is much, actually I could choose my words carefully, since I have people listening to me who I don't know. I guess we're accustomed to talking to people who I know. I don't be wise here. A lot of their laws are designed to protect themselves from the other, right? Whoever falls on the other is the thing. So the courts are very sympathetic to a founding father and a son and a grandson and a great-grandson of our founding father when they stand their ground versus when the son of a slave, or what they call them, ADOS and so on. When you say ADOS, stand their ground, the court is not as sympathetic to them. And when they say jury of your peers, sometimes the jury of your peers don't exactly be your peers. So we see it there a lot. So when they use terms like stand your ground law and they use terms like homeland security versus national security that we've always known, I will be keeping an eye on that. It's something that I will pay attention to, and I'm hoping that it's not an us versus them attitude. So who can stand their ground? And it's a Trinidadian attitude, because if I agree that I should be able to stand my ground. I don't. Some of these things are wrong. Firearms, I don't understand. Like, for instance, I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were saying that firing a warning shot in the air could cause you to lose your weapon, or brandishing, meaning if somebody come in and I just pull it out and shoot them. But to tell you the truth, that's the main thing I want a firearm for. I want a firearm. So when somebody rush me, I say, hey, I don't want to shoot nobody. I don't want to shoot nobody. But again, I'm sure they are I'm saying that I don't know what the reasons are. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't understand it well enough. But I'm sure they have solid rationale for why you can't bust a shot in the air. Because I want to bust a shot in the air and run. I don't really want to shoot a person. I don't like the idea of it. But it is what it is. But so I'm just hoping that is, if it's a stand your ground law where, for instance, if somebody is attacking me or making me feel threatened, is a simpler process for me to use the tools that I have in my possession to protect myself and my family and my possessions, right? I'll say as well about home invasion laws. I don't have in front of me, because they have not laid the legislation yet, how we going to frame stand your ground legislation. I just based it on what I see in the States. And I don't know what the home invasion legislation will look like either, but eager to see it, because that is one of my biggest worries. I don't like the idea that I could just be home, a man could bust in my place, and no more, I don't have anything to protect legally to protect myself. And if I use the thing I have legally now, I tie up in the court system, and I don't agree with it. So I'm eager to hear what they come up with for both things. For reform of how FULs are granted, and the biasness that is built into that process, and the corruption that is built into that, I hope they eliminate it. Let me see what the stand your ground laws look like. Let me see what the home invasion laws look like. I all for that. I see, again, in terms of immediacy, Children's Hospital opening back, it's going to have issues. So people saying now, the nurses, and it don't matter where you do it, there's friction to getting things done, but people who get things done live comfortably with the friction. If it are more nurses, that's jobs. That's a good thing. Or if you don't have enough nurses, we could do it. It's have plenty of people who are nursing degree who what do you mean to don't have enough nurses? And then I saw them say as well the laptops being granted, right? So this group who going back to primary school, who now going to secondary school will get back their laptops and things. It's hard to argue with measures like those. I like that. What I want to hear a little bit more from them on is on their long-term planning for the economy, but you had to give them time. You had to give them time to get their hands on the books, get the Auditor General report. Let me see how it goes. But I will say that my experience and looking at politics for a long time now, I always feel like the PNM is so much stronger on long-term planning. If they could just eliminate this father in the nation nonsense where somebody feel is my father and can help me make decision, they tend to have a clearer and more well thought out long-term vision for the economy and take decisions that support long-term well-being. Whereas I feel the UNC has a way better muscle, better strength, way better strength in executing quickly and doing things that are short term. And I always remember being very, very frustrated as a young man under Patrick Manning and now trying to start my life and leave my mother's house. And I started getting into that government and doing nothing for my mentality. Because all the plans that you could have heard about when they had that 2020 vision was about how we would be good in 2020. But that sounds so far away to me. I wanted to do things to be better now. I want to know how I could advance myself now. Which I did. And I think most people will find their way to... Trinidadians progressive, people just look for ways to better themselves. But I do feel as if the UNC as a government does so much better identifying what are the things that we need immediately and what are the things that we need to change so that society could start feeling they getting better. And you'd rather sit down and wait for 20, 30, 40 years to pass to feel like if the place changing. You with me? So again, I wish them the best. Is something that I'll continue to monitor. As I said, this is not a forum that has been abandoned in terms of our ability to just sit down and talk for a little while. You know what I mean? Sit down and talk for a little while about things that happen in the society. We will always get a chance to do that. So let me give them time. Let me see where it is. Behind me is Decode. I with it. let me hope that it work out. And again, if you're new here, it's random Kaiso,
Adolph was always going and roam, leaving the woman home.
Yes.
Well, she take until she couldn't take no more. Last night he going out, she running from the door, shouting, I coming too, I coming too. You ain't leaving me here tonight if we have to fight. I coming too, I coming too. Look, all the neighbors think I's a mouse, fuss her in the house. I coming too, I coming
too. You should never need a reason to play Kaiso, right? No reason necessary. Like you talk about Keisha Cole and them now, and so let's spend only 500 or let's spend only 1,000 or let's spend only 2,000. I'm thinking when down in Keisha Cole. I see Keisha Cole come in and listen, Paula Stacey tell me from the time she in the airport, I had to give she credit. She say, hey, what's going on? That girl ain't looking happy at all, Now, I personally find she's never really looked too happy. She's looking a little slightly bit upset. I have these random thoughts, feelings, and I think I process all the time. I don't trust people who, when they open their mouth to talk, their teeth is still be clenched like this. I don't trust it. I don't believe nothing they say. And Keisha Cole is one of them people, right? So I see her come in. She went by KFC. She got a little spicy crispy up, and the people start singing this song. Now I'll tell you something, right? One of the things I end up doing a lot, like when I first started off the podcast, I used to have to leave Tuesdays free. I used to release on a Tuesday morning, right? People remember them days. And when I done talk, I used to leave Tuesdays free so that I could talk to people about what I talk about. Because people call and say, boy, this, that, and the other. And I just wasn't used to it. And sometimes I don't forget what I say. Because when I put out that Tuesday, I might have record since the week before. So I don't forget what I talk about. And then too, you have to keep in mind I talking about 8 to 10 topics every episode. Them time we getting through topic fast. And the truth is, I might really only care about two of them things. I might deeply be caring about what happened in politics and what happened in culture. The other things is just throwaway things to me. So when somebody calls into debate about that, it's like, it's not that serious. This thing performative, you know what I mean? So I always, in this space where you're talking about podcasting, I can't imagine what it's like to be an artist with a hit record. Because that had to be real annoying when you see Keisha Cole come out and then everybody starts to say, oh, oh, and I knew what happened. The whole of KFC started singing. I never seen nothing like this woman just for she fall. She come for she fall. These people singing. Boy, listen. But I guess he had to smile through that and them kind of thing. I don't know if I get a deal with that. But all then, she looked like she wasn't so happy to be here. But then we get to find out why she there. So the thing was an R&B show, right? Several local artists. Salute to all the local artists. Men like Kutin, men like Preedy. You know what I mean? They came out there and put on a hell of a show. I think I see Multi-Symptom. They plenty, you know what I mean? Singers going out there and perform. Salute to Preedy. I think I underestimate Preedy a little bit. Just singing ability. Pretty kind of R&B up some of his songs, and the little clips I see, they look good. And Dexter Daps, who's always a great performer. I surprised Paula Stacey and go by Dexter Daps. I said, yeah, because I waiting to see. I know she go reach on stage, and so I just waiting to see. But she says she ain't going. She ain't going to. Oh, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and so on. You know what I mean? All the mothers of the nation, my mothers, my baby mothers. So happy birthday, Mother's Day. I'm not a young man. So Keisha Cole come out now. What I really find strange when I see the first clip is how she dresses. I say, boy, what is this? What trouble is it? This ain't looking good at all. This ain't looking good at all. I mean, I saw the diaper comments when who was it? Was it she self who came out in her outfit in Jamaica? When you look at there was some performer, and I can't remember if it's who, but somebody came out looking like it was looking slight Pampers-ish, if I had to put it like that, you know. But she come out in like the same clothes she was in KFC, like she went straight from KFC. Whenever I'm Scotch and I come and them tell the woman she had to perform, because she just eat she foul and went up on stage belly full still and sing 3 songs and bust out, which is shocking to me. Now I not leaving home to see Keisha Cole. Me no R&B man, yeah? But I suppose the Savannah was filled with people who listen to Richard Trumpet every Sunday evening and so on. So they go in for that, and that is their kind of show. People dress up nice. The show look good. I mean, yeah, committee and Scotch plenty of experience to doing events, so it looked good, but wasn't what they expected. She came back up with Dexter Daps, and she basically sing a few more songs with some prompting and coaxing from Dexter Daps, and she seemed quite surprised when people tell her about, hey, you were supposed to perform a whole set. And now the talk now is that she was only paid for 3 songs, and the promoter's saying we pay her for a full set. So who knows what is the right thing or what really happened. But I want to flash back to that time where I leave my house in South with my old self and back problems. Salute to my boy Bert. And I pulled Bert out the house, and me and Bert went and watched Idonia, Bounty Killer, and Beanie Man. Who, I mean, that is the ideal combination to get me to come out my house, right? Because I'm a big Bounty Killer fan. I see Beanie many times. One thing you're sure you will get is a great show when you go and see Beanie Man, or at least at some point in time you used to get that. And Idonia, I didn't see in a long... I'm not sure if I ever see Idonia perform live. But I want to hear banger, mana, banger, mana, banger. I want to leave home to hear that. And they also had a song clash part of it. I think name it was Fully Loaded. And they had a song clash part of it where you could have gone here. I want to say Taurus, Jugglers, a few sound systems play. So, you know, that is the ideal combination. And you go get me out my house if you have that combo there. I had to reach early enough. Yeah, looking for it here. Keisha Cole self was in a drawers in Jamaica, a whole diaper, a whole Pampers, a whole Huggies she put on and went to perform. So maybe she just don't dress up to perform. I don't know. But that Huggies was crazy. But yeah, I went down in the show. I take in a little slice of the Taurus on them. And then I come across to the next side and take in Bounty Killer and Beanie Man. Bounty Killer started performing, Beanie Man joined him on stage, and then a little bit after, me see Bounty Killer no more. And then after a while I realized, because Idonia had done performancing, I realized, I said, but wait, Bounty Killer ain't coming back. He do the sum total of songs that Keisha Cole do is what he do. He do about 3 songs and bust out. So I said, but wait. So when I see the connection now, I see Scotch promoting Keisha Cole, then I see Scotch promoting Bounty Killer, and then I see Scotch do a press release after Bounty Killer because Bounty Killer said he was not paid for no performance with Beanie. That is a different price for a clash thing or on stage together thing, and he was paid for a show. So when they tried to force the 2 of them together, he ride out. And I see Scotch put out a release that time. It was funny. I was looking for it back, and I had to scroll back too far to find it because that's some years ago. But it's funny because they put out the release as how Bounty Killer will talk. Them is like, hey, yo, yellow, we pay every money for him. And Scorch Powder release, and then the issue was dead. Bounty Killer never responded to it. Scorch never said nothing again. They said the same thing about legal action and thing. So when I see Scorch put out a release this time saying, we pay in full, along with receipts this time, showing they pay in full on them thing. And Keisha Cole song, she sung surprised. When she see the comments, people saying they didn't get enough and all this kind of thing, it seemed as though she was paid for her appearance and to do 3 songs. I don't know how that works as a performer because I'm not sitting down on a plane for that length of time to sing no one song. That's not going to work for me. I might just end up on the vibes of the thing. I might just end up singing more, and that could be to my detriment for my management and them kind of thing too. So if that is the case, I might just sing 7, 8, 9 songs and hope for the best. But I do not expect anything to come out of that Keisha Cole thing. I don't think she come back to do no more thing. I mean, how much Pampers you go away in 1 year? Shit, I don't think she come back no. And I don't think anything going to happen with the promoters on them either, especially if they do their part. I always remember Dave Chappelle say, I not paid to be funny. I paid for the attempt, which means once you use my name, you're going to sell a certain amount of tickets anyway. So it's like, bye. It was nice. So I hope people enjoy the R&B festival and so on, and we get it together. But as I said, I'm never here to talk about too much issues without playing Al Kaiso, you know?
Caribbean party, the entire region together in one big splashdown fiesta.
A Caribbean connection, a regional vibration.
I say we jamming to the songs of the Caribbean, we grooving to calypso. Is one love, so feel free, for we are the people of the Caribbean, showing that we don't want no basin plan.
A Caribbean connection, a regional vibration.
I say we jamming to the songs of the Caribbean, we grooving to calypso.
Whatever the hard cut is there is because I realized I was muted for a long time and I done talk out about 10 minutes of Affordable Imports time on heavy mute there. I forget to press the on. I'm not a young man, you know, but I was talking about, now I'm not telling you what I was talking about while I was on mute. I was talking about the Unity Cup. We have Dwight York leading our team. And if you know me well enough, you know I'm a Soca Warriors man, right? And Dwight York leading us into World Cup and Gold Cup qualifiers. In the early June, we have to play against the USA, Haiti, and Saudi Arabia, which are going to be stern tests for our national team. So I'm happy to see that they're in England now, going into a Unity Cup. And here the Unity Cup structured, right? Is the teams in the tournament is Jamaica, Trinidad, Nigeria, and Ghana. And the first match is semi-final one, which we'll be playing on 27th of May. So it's starting with a semi-final. It's Jamaica against Trinidad, and then the second semi-final is Nigeria against Ghana. We will meet in the final, and the winners will meet in the final and the losers will play a third place game. So we'll play against Jamaica and at least one of Nigeria or Ghana, whoever lose that game. Because I think Jamaica will beat you, right? But what I'm encouraged by is the fact that Jamaica, Nigeria, and Ghana we will be the underdogs in the tournament. Let me put it like that, right? I don't think we have a chance. I was hoping we play everybody, but this is good because the exposure that we get, particularly for a very young team outside of the Joven Jones and Molino and these fellas, you have a pretty young team or inexperienced team who might not face talent like this. Like I was seeing a podcaster in England who I guess they promoted the tournament. He was basically saying, hey, last time I see Trinidad play, a white man was in midfielder, referring to Burchell, you know. So it shows you how long ago we were a force on the international stage, and we haven't been seen that way in a long time. But I do feel like if this helps us prepare for the more important things, which is the Gold Cup and the World Cup. And this is one of the things I had predicted. Remember I was telling you, Dwight York being there, we're going to get different quality of games. Well, it's clear to see that is happening now. Before affordable imports come out, I wanted to talk real quickly about some of the background behind some of the conversations and the interviews that have been happening. Like people keep asking like, how you get this person? What do you think? How that was? And you know, maybe I will keep a little 5-minute segment in each episode that I do by myself to talk about some of these things, because of course one of the last ones you would have seen is David Rudder, and that was special. Just the chance to have that conversation at all with him is special to me, and a lot of work went into it. And let me start by thanking a list of people I have who would have helped with this episode, whether they knew it or not, right? First, of course, and always, Stacey Paula Stacey Villarreal, right? Shepherd Bab, you know what I mean? She always there supporting my mother, my father, people who I could call at a moment's notice, sometimes on the way, because they were there. They were in the band mix and thing when Rudder was who he was. People like Omari Ashby, Ozzy Merrick, Wayne Shepherd, you know, people I could call and get some information, bounce some ideas off of just how to approach it and how to do it. Mr. Shaq, When Steel Talks, Pan on the Net, places that you could go and get a lot of information. Alvin Daniel and Calypso Showcase, places you could get a lot of information on just how to approach this. And of course, David Wales, who has been, you might remember the name David Wales, right? Photographer, just a cool guy overall, who happened to be listening to some of the episodes and start reaching to me, and he was like, boy, I like your interviews. Hey, if I wanted to interview this fellow, and I was like, I'm frightened now, we'll just call David Rudder. He's like, yes, I'll make contact with you. And he has been doing that for a long time, so it's helped me in a lot of ways just elevate the way the podcast looks and feels. And of course, Che, Conrad, and Kyle at Affordable Imports, who helped me to be in a position where I could just focus on what I need to talk about with the guest and what we need to get done. I don't have to worry about the lens cap being on and things. I mean, that used to be more worries long time, right? But these fellas putting it out at a level of quality where all I had to focus on is come and record on what clips I want to cut. So I want to take a minute in the end of the episode to thank everybody for that. But I will say that it's not a whole long story to be back at that now. It's really basically I asked him, he said he could come. He was very specific about the times of day that he could record, where he in the best possible health, and his speech and so on. He's not shy to talk about his battles with Parkinson's, as you might have seen in the interview, and it came together really, really well. I felt like when we were in the room, we had something special, and many of the interviews went like that. Again, a lot of people they tell me as Adrian Schoon publicist. But I'll say again that I reached out to him. Thanks for David for making that contact. I reached out to him and he said, boy, yeah, Fatima, man, I'll do it. And he showed up. And I respect the fact that he answered everything that I asked him. I asked some questions where I feel he'd just say, no comments, or I don't want to talk about that. But he was upbeat, he was cool, he was very, very affable, and I don't know him from nowhere. We don't know each other, and you wouldn't think so when you look at the conversation, because he's extremely passionate about his brands and what he's doing in his space, extremely confident about his contribution, and he answered the questions to suit. So I hope people appreciate it. And I wanted to say as well that one of the people who contributed a lot to me for that episode for David Rudder, and I hope to have him on when the football starts, is Lasana Liebird, because between that school interview, which had a lot of people questioning me and what I can allow people to say, and I thinking, listen, I cannot allow. They have some people, Duvon Stewart, Adrian School, these people opinionated, Mr. Shaq, them fellas and them coming to say what they had to say, you know. And they're not shy about what they're saying, and I am not bothered or disturbed by anything they might say, whether people see it as controversial or not. I want these people's opinions, even if they state things that incorrect. If I know it's incorrect, I might ask you about it in a moment. But if I don't know, I'm here to get your story or your viewpoint. If you know me well enough, you know the right and wrong and the good and bad and the facts and fiction thing is not my zone anyway. I just want to hear how you feel. I'm a feelings kind of guy, you know what I mean? And I appreciate people like them coming to share with me who nondescript and unknown to them, but they come and they share very, very openly. I was just talking to Conrad about Duvon before this interview started. When Duvon came in, I was worried. He didn't say much. When he came into the room, he said good morning, and he come in, he sit down, and he was on his phone, and I was a little worried. I was like, okay, I wonder how this is going to go, because he don't seem like he that talkative, but he opened up in a way that I could have never expected. He would rather come in here and laugh about joke about sugar loaves more than I could have ever asked for. So when I asked these people for a couple hours at a time, I'm not here to make it uncomfortable for them. I'm not here to talk about the most controversial issues that they have. These people could go on for Zero Show and do that whole day. And Lasana contributed to that episode a lot because there was a whole lot happening after a few of the interviews. After a weaker thing to deal with, I was telling Conrad. And I remember reaching out to Lasana. I was like, Lasana, how you deal with retraction and having to correct things that people say? And one of the things that stood out to me the most is Lasana say, boy, Corey, you gotta be yourself. You know, don't go against your brand. You can't be wired, or you can't be for zero, you can't be hard talk. He said people must understand that if they decide to come by you, yes, a man is talk little shit, you like a laugh, you like a little joke, and it's a light experience. And he said the listener must understand that when they come to talk by you, it's a conversation, it's not an in-depth interview where you're going to interrogate somebody. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything that makes this little space we create in here uncomfortable. I'm a true host, and the guest is a true guest. My role here is to make everybody feel comfortable, and let we have a conversation that everybody wants to contribute to and benefit from. So that is me. That is me. But before Conrad and them open back that door, I just wanted to put it out there. So thanks to all the people who have contributed to that episode. And I want to leave you with two. I want to leave you. These songs might sound random, right? That if it wasn't here, but it's like I like Merchant Bad, you know. And every year when after election, I get a chance to come and play Build a Nation. But I like to play some of Merchant greatest. I could leave you with them.
Africa, and I was a warrior, hunting lion and tiger, brave like my forefather. And when the darkness gathered, we sit around a fire, telling of the bravery and courage of our great ancestors. And we chanting Kumbaya, oh, Kumbaya, oh, Kumbaya,
All the time short, and also I have to play song short. I will talk to Oli. Usually I used to say I will talk to Oli next week, but I will talk to Oli when I talk to Oli again.